Welcome back to the class on motor control and its application. So there's a continuation of the part on which was previously taken as the application of motor control theory to practice, to physiotherapy practice in neurological conditions. Now this topic is going to be mentioned under two topics. One is application of theory of motor control. Number two is neurophysiology of motor control. You can take it into either parts. So what we are going to do is we are going to see how the gait pattern emerges, how does what controls it. These are the things which we are going to understand during this one. I'm going to present this lecture in series of 3 parts. So the first part will predominantly be looking into the how do we walk in a normal situation in our normal life, and how is brain involved in controlling that. The second part is going to be on the pattern of walking, and it's going to we are going to look into how this pattern is controlled by the nervous system. And lastly, we are going to look into what are the other essential requirements if we have to walk, and that's the third part. So let's move on with the first part. So how do you define walking? We all know walking is a movement which includes a stance phase and a swing phase. So walking is a purposeful movement from one place to the another, with initiation, alternating patterns of stance and swing, and termination at a destination. Okay? So it's very simple to look into it in this particular way. Now, in order to understand gait, what are the objectives of this particular series on gait, normal control of gait is, at the end of this you should be understanding, number one, what is the goal of walking, and in order to achieve that goal, what are the basic requirements of a gait, and how are these requirements maintained during walking, and how does the nervous system help in executing all these processes in a very smooth way. So the contents we are going to cover are how do we define the purpose of walking, and how does it define the basic requirements of gait. So there are 3 basic requirements. We will be looking one after the other in this lectures. So let's look into it. What's a goal of walking? Now we all know that a purposeful walking happens in the environment. Say for example, not only human body, if you understand any device which is used for mobility, for example, you drive a two-wheeler or you travel by a bus, we all go from one place to the other place. So the difference between going in a vehicle and going in by a human is ours is purposeful. A vehicle obeys our command, but you should see that the predominant requirements for us walking and vehicle moving is both these things share a lot of similar characters. Now when we are going to talk about the purposeful walking, as we go ahead, we saw in the prior class that any task emerges and also is constrained by 3 factors, that is the individual factor, the task related factor, and the environment. And we had given you an assignment on how does these interact when a person is going to catch a bus. So we are going to see more of these instances in this particular module. So therefore we should not understand that the brain commands and we are made to walk by the nervous system command coming down the body and going on to the leg, but we need to understand that it's because of interaction of multiple things. Therefore, the main purpose of this lecture is to make us understand that a walking pattern emerges in response to the three factors. Now, we all walk to complete a certain purpose. All right, so I want you to think of at least five purposes as to why you walk during a normal day. Normal day is when you have to go to your college, when you have to go outside. That's what I mean by a normal day, not locked up inside the house as of today. So, can you think of five purposes as to why you walked during a normal day, either today or yesterday? Yeah, I'll give you a minute to think over that. Yes, I hope you all would have written at least a few purposes as to why did you go, right? So the purpose is very variable, all right? Um, Sometimes we might have thought that we are going outside for buying something. We might be going to a washroom. We might be going from a hall to a kitchen in order to eat food. We might be going out to a hotel to meet a friend, or multiple purposes. So we know that we all walk for different purposes. But what we need to understand is when we move for each purpose, the, the place through which we move on is not the same. Say, for example, you're going from your bedroom to your kitchen. That would be different. If you want to buy a dress, we walk on a busy road. So the environment is entirely different. Rather, if you want to go to the washroom or like going to a kitchen, it all happens inside our house, and that walking would be different. We know that there are definitely, when I say it's different, we know that definitely the gait involves stance and swing phase, and that's common to walking in both the places. But we always see some differences in the nature of walking between when we walk in a familiar place, or when we walk within a home environment, and we walk in a outside environment. So what are the differences that exist, right? While when, as compared to walking inside the home, when you walk in a busy marketplace, the environment is very dynamic. We have an open environment. It keeps changing all the time. So as you walk, you see suddenly that a person is coming in front of you. You might see that suddenly a stair comes and you will have to climb over the stairs. You may need to change your direction in order to enter into a mall. So we see that the environment in which we walk keeps changing all the time. And so in response to that, what happens within our system is we may need to either speed up, or we may need to slow down. We may, if you continuously see that people are coming in front of you, or you see that there is a post in front of you, you're going to change your direction. So you need to be vigilant about the obstacles. So this does not happen when you're walking in a very closed environment. What I mean by a closed environment is where the environmental variability is less. As for example, you're walking in inside your home, or you're walking in a place where there are no one to disturb you. Right. So what are these challenges that are being given by the environment which makes us change the pattern of walking? After Patla, in the earlier part of the century, he has told that there are different challenges that are given by the environment, and some of them could be terrain characteristics. So when I say a terrain character, the surface on which you walk might be smooth, might be regular, or it might have a lot of stones. You might be walking in a place where holes are there. You might be walking in a road where a sidewalk is there with a lot of stones. You might have some up and down, especially if you're going in a hilly region. So terrain characters is one thing which um, comes on to the gait pattern from the environment. The second one is energy requirement. Think about your walking just like that to a go to a friend's place or to go to a hotel. Rather, if you have to walk for your keeping up your fitness, how would you be walking? Would you be walking in the same way? Right? It would be different. So that's another environmental challenge. The third challenge which comes is the ambient conditions. Ambient condition here doesn't mean the terrain, but it also means the environment in which you're walking. So it might be windy, it might be rainy, there might be different changes which might come. The next one is the if you're walking during night time, there might be street lights there where you might be able to see clearly in front of you what is there, or there might be you might be walking in dark. So you understand that environment produce multiple challenges as we walk, and it's not very stable. It's very dynamic, it's changing in nature. Now, given these challenges, the walking pattern has to change. You cannot walk the same way as you're walking when each of these environmental conditions come. So, say for example, how you're walking on a flat surface is not the same as how you walk on a how you walk over a ramp or a hilly surface. So the manner in which you walk needs to change. If it doesn't change, if you're going to maintain the same pattern, it's going to be a problem. And so what is required of the body system is adaptability. The body system should adapt and change the pattern of gait depending on the environment. This is the challenge that the environment gives to us. So how does the gait adapt? That's the question we need to understand. Let's think about you're walking on the road, and on the sidewalk you're walking, and a person is coming onto us from the front, right? Now this requires us to change the direction of walking, right? So let's look into what's the challenges which come. So when as you're walking, right, you can think over how when a person comes, what will you do when you're walking? You're not going to walk directly in order to bump into that person. So you'll have to see that. So you'll have to see that you'll have to change the direction, right? So what else do you think should be happening? I'll just give you a few seconds to think over that. Yeah. So constraint number one is you need to change the direction. That's what we discussed. But constraint number two is we need to select which direction we need to take. Either you need to move to the left or to the right. So normally we tend to plan and take the direction which provides the least resistance. And the other one is choose a point for change. You're not going to go so close to the person and change. You're not going to change if you see a person very far away from you. So there is a particular part at which you decide to change. So once once you understand this person is coming straight to you, then these are the things you'll be looking into. There could be many other constraints also. Sometimes when you change the direction, along with that person may also change. So it's not very limited. There are n number of changes will be coming, and we need to decide about all these things, and we need to change. So I want you to think again, what constraints do you think will be present when an old lady has to go to the washroom at night? Number one. And number two, what constraint do you think will be present when a hypertensive patient decides to start walking for improving his fitness? So I'll give you again 30 seconds, and I want you to list down what are the constraints that the environment is going to give to them, or it is going to be imposed on them based on the purpose of their walking. Okay, so I hope you all would have guessed correctly what would be the constraint for the lady going in the night. It's going to be pretty dark, and there's going to be no one around, so she will have to look into whether she is able to see clearly. And when she's getting up, she needs to see whether she has to wear glasses and then start moving on, or she has to move without wearing glasses. Will the ambient condition be good? So she needs to adapt to that, and she needs to start walking. We all have experience in going to the washroom during nighttime or very early in the morning, and we all know how it's not the same as we are going in the morning time. We will have to just explore, touch around the walls and see where is the light, and then put it on. Or if a light is not there, we need to just guess, and we need to see whether we are going to bump against the door or the walls closer to the door and stuffs like that. So walking is going to be pretty slow. It's not going to be as fast as we walk. So that's one thing you might have guessed. And in case of the hypertensive patient who decides to start walking, he cannot walk like normally how he walks slowly. He will have to understand that in order to improve fitness, he needs to walk for a longer distance. So he can, so it's going to be a bigger distance than how much he is normally walking. So his body has to be capable of producing so many steps, and that too, when he is walking, he will not be walking slowly, he'll be walking faster. So at a fast pace and a longer distance, his gait has to be different as compared to when you walk for any other purpose. So so I hope you would have understood that the purpose defines what is the environment, and the environment decides what's the adaptations that we may need to bring in. Right? Now, the challenge is, how does the nervous system produce that as adaptability? Let's take for an example, there is an oncoming obstacle, like a person is going to come in front of us, right, again. And so now what will happen inside our body? How does this how is this change brought about, right? So the first thing is, we are going to see that there is important help which is given by changes in the perception action system. What I mean by perception is, by this time you'll be knowing that the sensory inputs from the environment come into our body through multiple channels. So one of the channel is visual system. So what is there in front of us, we'll be able to see through using our visual system. The second system which is going to be there is proprioceptive system. Your As you walk, how fast you walk, and what is the surface in which you are walking, and what's the movement of the joints, all these information are going to come from proprioceptive input. And I hope you would also have guessed that there is one more system which is going to help in improving the manner of walking, which is your vestibular system. But when an obstacle is going to come, when a person is going to come in front of you, let's take for example, do you think your vestibular or your proprioceptive system can give you information about that? It's not going to be possible. So unless and until you go and bump, your proprioceptive system is not going to give it. But we all know that we don't bump onto the obstacles. We change our direction, we alter the pattern in which we are walking. So now what has to happen is, although the informations are coming from all these systems continuously, your brain has to decide which system to give more priority to. So through experience, it comes to know that in this situation, I'll have to give I'll have to give more preference to what the visual system is saying, because it tells me how a person is coming, how fast he is coming, where am I supposed to change if I should not bump. So your visual system is going to guide these informations. Now, the next is changes in the cognition system. All right. Now, when you walk when you walk on a very empty road, you will see that you're calm and cool. When you walk inside an environment, you'll be calm and cool. But when you're going to enter into a busy place where the obstacles are going to be coming, say for example, a stone is there as you walk, a lamppost is there, a sidewalk is there, a bus is coming in front of you, a person is coming in front of you. So what happens is your cognitive system cannot sit there and relax and tell, okay, fine, I know walking, I've been walking for so many years, so let me continue walking. It's not going to tell that. It's going to be alert. So your brain is going to increase the amount of activity in your attention areas are going to be higher. And not to say the least, there is also going to be change in pattern of walking. So normally when we walk in a forward direction, it's flexes and extensors, as we know. But if you have to change directions, or if you have to lift your leg up and put it on the side, then you require other muscles to start coming in order to help you overcome the obstacle. So we see that the nervous system produces adaptability, but you see that a lot of your cerebral cortical areas, which are primarily thinking, reasoning, and interpreting what's happening on the outside environment, all come into play in addition to the pattern of changes in pattern of muscle activations. Okay, right? So, so the nervous system is going to be involved during this particular activity, right? Now, taking it further, all right? Are we conscious of a gait when we walk inside our house? Do you think your brain is going to think, what's the step length I'm taking? Should I increase or decrease? No, right? Clear? So we need to understand that whenever environment enters into the places where we are walking, it is going to define how we are walking. Right, so I'll stop here for the part one. So I'll summarize once more. In part one, what's the goal of our part one was to try and understand what are the constraints that the environment gives, and how our body system adapts to it. And also we looked onto which all neural systems were additionally required when we are walking in different environments. So you need to understand that one of the basic requirements for successful walking, and the first requirement is adaptability of our walking. And we have seen how these systems interact in order to help us in producing a better adaptability. Thank you. We will stop here for this lecture. And the next part, I'll be discussing more about how a normal gait pattern is being produced by the nervous system. Thank you.